My art is getting worse, so I decided I should do something about it. I started by going through my Instagram looking for a post that I could redraw. I wanted something not too old but not too new, something where once I redraw it, I'd look at it and be like, yeah, I've improved. So I started sketching out this original character that I made a few years ago. The very first time I drew him, it was terrible and ugly, and it was just in my sketchbook. The drawing that I am redrawing here is a redrawing of that original drawing. So it's all very poetic. As you can see, I started off well, although it was a bit off center, but that's nothing that can't be fixed by a little bit of flipping the canvas. Even here, though, I was starting to struggle a little bit because there were some things that were wrong with the sketch that I didn't fix because I don't know why, but I started going in with the more defined sketch. Not really the line art, I don't really do line art, but this um, other sketch. And now he was looking a little more wonky and a little more lopsided because I didn't fix the initial sketch. But I pushed on and I pushed on, and I didn't really know what I was doing at this point because I didn't know how to draw hair and I didn't know how much of the hair I should outline because typically my style tends towards semi realism, but I guess I was in a different mood. I think part of the reason was I was desperate to do something new just to prove to myself that my art isn't stale. Because while I don't think I've really gotten worse exactly, I think I've just stopped improving as rapidly as I used to. And I think as a young artist, especially, that's really scary. I started coloring now and I set my sketch layer to overlay because I end up using it in the rendering and in the shading eventually because my art style doesn't really have line art. And if I do have line art, usually it's the last step, which I know is quite different from most artists who do line art. Also, now I'll let your eyes rest and watch a screen recording of me drawing instead of watching my screen from my phone. Also, if this video does even remotely well, I'll probably invest in a new microphone because this microphone is such garbage. Anyway, here I'm doing a little bit of rendering. I'm just going in on top of the color layer, which I've combined with my sketch layer, and I am using a brush that I got on the Clip Studio Marketplace, which changes the hue a little bit of every stroke. And I love these types of brushes. They make my drawings look so painterly, and it makes it look like you've done 10 times the amount of work. Unfortunately, even the brush wasn't saving me, and this just wasn't working out. This drawing was looking terrible. I didn't know what I was doing, so I took a break. Then I spent half an hour off screen just trying to fix his face, and I think I was also getting a little nervous from recording and it just wasn't working out. After I felt like I fixed his face a little bit, I started working on the hair, which was the scariest part. I've always really struggled with hair, and on the drawing that I am redrawing here, you can see that I really struggled with the hair. It looked like I was trying so hard to follow all the rules and tips and tricks, but it wasn't working out. So here I was referencing a photo of some guy on Pinterest and trying to copy his hair because Lev is supposed to have very fluffy blue hair. And it's really difficult to actually draw what I think when I imagine him. And once again, it wasn't working out, and once again, I rage quit. There was just something about the original that I was struggling to recreate. So I decided to properly take a break. Take a break from this drawing and take a break from digital art as a whole. I think sketchbooks are kind of a safe space for artists It's somewhere where you can draw anything and not be judged for it as long as you don't show anyone. You don't have to show anyone. And it's different from digital arts because digitally you feel more pressure to draw well. You have one canvas in front of you and you've got to fill it. Whereas in a sketchbook, you've got all of these other pages left to go, and it's freeing and you can fill them up however you like. Then, just like any other artist, I went on Pinterest for inspiration and I saved so many things to my art inspo board, but it wasn't helping me draw. So I got back on the grind and I deleted all of his hair. I decided then to try something different. I decided to try to draw how it felt right to draw. My art style was just mine. I didn't have to make it look a certain way. I had to just follow my instincts. I didn't have to make the hair realistic if I didn't want to. And if it didn't feel right, if it didn't look right, I could just do something else. And so that's what I did. I separated the hair into much bigger chunks than I usually would, and I made it a lot fluffier and a lot sharper, and I put some straight up lines in there, like very defining lines, almost line art type of lines, because I could do what I wanted. And if my art was getting stale, the only reason that was happening is because I wasn't letting myself really do what I wanted. Because at the end of the day, your art style, isn't something you can control. And we might want to think that it is, but I honestly don't think that it is. I think our art style is just something that happens to us. It happens as a result of the things we enjoy, and it happens as a result of just us. It's like handwriting. Sometimes, if you try to force yourself to draw in a specific style, it doesn't feel right. You know, if you're doing it for work, like for an animation project or something, yeah, that's work. But if you're doing art for yourself, if you try to squeeze yourself into a box, it just doesn't really work a lot of the time. Your art style is something that finds you, not you find it. And by the way, I am not talking here about improvement in terms of like anatomy and color theory and such. Those are basics. Like, those are things that if you want to find your art style, you have to study them because they will allow you to express yourself in the ways that you want. It will remove limits from your self expression. But art style is different. I think there comes a point in every artist's creative journey where you stop moving towards realism. I used to judge my improvement by how realistic my art was becoming compared to my art last month, last year. I was judging my improvement based on how smooth the lighting was, how correct the anatomy. And of course, it was stylized to an extent, but not really. The stylizing a lot of the time came as just a second thought. The stylizing was more of an obstacle. But now I think I've started improving more horizontally, if that makes sense. I'm moving away from realism and towards what I actually want to draw. And sometimes it's hard to accept that improvement doesn't just look like stick figure to realistic Walter White pencil drawing. Sometimes improvement is just finding yourself. So, in the end, my final drawing is very much comparable to the old one. I mean, the old one maybe looks a little weird, but you know what? It doesn't matter.